Welcome back to the channel, guys. So in this video we'll be working on a 5-cylinder engine, as you probably know. There's not many cars on the market with the 5-cylinder, especially from Audi, but it is something new. We are talking about an RS3. So this RS3 originally came to us only for a diagnostic. Of course, the fault codes were incorrect coloration, and I did check some data. We'll do the diagnostic one more time just to be 100% sure. But I did use all the knowledge to actually save the owner a bit of money. It didn't help out. So we don't do loads of these 5-cylinders. They are pretty much indestructible unless you try to push them too hard. You're not doing the oil changes and so on and so on. So I'm not saying they can't have issues, but I don't think they have as many issues like, for example, a 3-litre E839. Which is 2.9 or 3 litre from SRS, SQ5s and so on and so on. So basically there was an incorrect coloration in the ECU, and I did try to swap the solenoids for the variable timing, which didn't help. So basically there's still a fault on the intake camshaft. I did manage to find the data to check the phase position. Unfortunately, the phase position on the intake camshaft is way out. So I'm guessing option number 1, that the camshaft adjuster himself completely failed, which I don't think so. Option number 2, for some reason, which we don't know yet, the timing has jumped. Before we're gonna strip it down, which is not loads of work, I would say, it's just required gearbox off and a few bits and bobs. I don't even think so that the transfer book's gotta come off, I don't remember. But we'll get to that later. I wanna do the diagnostic first of all, and we go from there. Let's plug it in. So, RS3. In Nardo Grey, which was a very popular color at some point. We call it primer with lacquer, and I must say it doesn't even have heated seats, but these are like vented seats as well, so I don't see many of them in this spec. Virtual cockpit, of course. So yeah, let's plug it onto the VCDS and we'll go from there. Yeah, the engine, I mean the noise, the ticking noise is mostly coming from the injectors, because this has a dual injection. So we have the injection which is going straight to the combustion chamber, then you have the secondary injectors like the older engines before the intake valves. It is good, it's more fueling, and especially something is clean the intake valve, so the carbon buildup is not that bad like only if you have like direct injection on these engines. So yeah, the engine is not running really well, as you can probably tell. It is choking a bit. and of course you can't really expect that the engine will be running smoothly when the timing is out as much as you've seen. So next step will be, we are taking it on the ramp and we will start taking off all the necessary stuff, and we have to get to the timing chains. I also already have the camshaft adjusters here ready, just in case. We will check them and we will see how it goes. There you go, so the car's on the ramp. We will start from the top. We have to disconnect the battery, air filter, the box from the air filter, all the piping, everything what's available to remove from the top will be taken off. Then of course we have to drain the oil, take the oil filter out, and we will get to the bottom somehow, and we will be removing the gearbox. Okay, so I think we strip everything down what was necessary, I would say. So the PCV have to come off, reason why there should be a point for the timing position. Also there's a small entrance for the top of the cylinder over there for the exhaust camshaft. The engine is not in a timing position, so at this particular moment I can't really tell what's going on exactly, but it should be physically off. We have to continue from the bottom, so I open the tank so there's no pressure. We will drain the oil and the coolant, take all the covers off, and we have to put the engine into the timing position so we can check what's going on. Okay, so the plan is we gotta take this shield off. There's one shield for the dry shaft, and there's another heat shield for the exhaust and the prop shaft, so that gotta be removed. You have to take out these 4 bolts from the prop shaft, 1, 2 and 2 on the top, and hopefully the gearbox will go out easily. So that's the plan. So we dropped the gearbox down and it was a bit of a pain. There was one bolt over there. So the oil filter from the gearbox was removed, and we have to continue with this coolant pipe what have to come off because of the vacuum pump. Then we have to drop the top timing chain cover, 3 bolts holding from the top, and then the main timing chain cover. So let's continue. So the timing chain cover is off now, as you can probably tell. And from my point of view, as let's call it a mechanic, this tensioner, because the chain is spinning anti-clockwise from this side, is basically pushed in by the forces between these 2 points. And if that tensioner is not tensioning for a bit of a time, then this angle where the chain is, I don't think it's big enough. So I think there's an opportunity where the problem can actually happen and the timing chain can jump from this camshaft adjuster. So anyways, we'll put it in a timing position. The crank needs to be rotated somehow, don't know how yet. As soon as that will be done, we will remove all the old stuff and we will start replacing it with all the new stuff what's here. We put the crankshaft tool from the front of the engine, so the crank is in the position as it should be. What I didn't notice when we took off the timing chain cover, the top plastic is broken, which I would say that this oil tensioner, as you can probably tell, is not tensioning enough to have the timing chain fully tensioned for the whole time. So how the engine is spinning anti-clockwise from this side, basically the chain is pushing these cams, which means there's always a resistance how it's sitting in the cylinder head, which means, because unfortunately, I don't know why, but I think this angle, how the timing chain is going around these gear wheels, they're simply just quite a big angle and is not sitting on a amount of teeth what is necessary to not jump over. What we can't say about the exhaust, because it's going like over 90 degrees and this is less than 90 degrees, so it's only sitting probably on this bit of the camshaft adjuster with the gears. So what happens is when that tensioner is not tensioning fully and is spinning this way, it will create like a wave, and because it's not sitting on a more tooth, let's call it, it will just simply jump. And that's why you can tell the cam should be nice and straight. You can see the bolt is aiming towards there, so that should be nice and straight, and it's not. The other side is nice and straight. I'll already put a pole in there, so that's telling us the exhaust is fine. However, I've been to Slovakia and I took the timing tools with me and I forgot the timing tools in Slovakia, so we will have to improvise in this video to hold the camshaft in a timing position, which luckily is not a huge problem or issue. So the next step will be we have to release both camshaft adjusters, especially the intake one, and we have to put it in the timing position, and then we have to rotate it somehow. We'll put new chains, new guides, new tensioners, and it should be all good to go. Pán Boh vie, že sme to spravili maximum. No, tu na dual injection robí robotku. Vypadajú fajn. And here we are on the table with all the old stuff. So, camshaft adjusters. I thought we will maybe replace them, but we will definitely replace them. Reason why, you can see the dots which are pressed in from the cam, and the new ones looks like this. So if you have a look at the camshaft, they have dots like this from the laser or something, and that will be the friction plate between the cam and the adjuster. So we will definitely replace those. The broken guide, there's the broken guide, that's the broken piece. That will be all replaced. 2 new chains, all the gaskets, gasket for the vacuum pump, new tensioner, and a gasket for the inlet manifold. So I think we can put it back onto the engine. So, timing chain fitted. It was a bit of a pain. It's a quite tight fitment. Also, you gotta be careful with the camshaft adjusters. There's a line over there, and there's a line over there, and that gotta be in that gap and in this gap. Also, I've got a feeling somebody was digging in the engine before us, because there are some yellow markings which are on the old adjusters as well. Reason why you have to be in a certain position, I reckon. Adjuster is basically oval, so if it's turning, it's not complete circle, it's oval, so it's like taking the tension off, or it's pre-tensioning the whole thing. And reason why you have to be in a certain position is some of them have groove all the way around, so it doesn't really matter. Well, doesn't really matter, but this one does matter where it sits, because otherwise the oil pressure is not getting into the adjuster and it will not work. So you gotta be careful when you fit in them. And like I said, they look there around, but they are oval. So that's it. Also, this bracket over here used to be built in South Korea, and they did move it to China. So it says made in China right now. I'm really hoping it will last longer than some other stuff from China. So next step, we already tied the oil tensioners to a Newton meter spec. That was like 9 Newton meters. Now we're gonna do these mine bolts for the adjuster, so we have to pre-tension it with the tool, and they're going 60 Newton meters and 90 degrees. Then we're gonna turn up the engine, and we will hope that we will not bend the valves. Okay, so the gearbox is in place with flywheel. Of course, we put new crankshaft seal. The bolts were tied to the Newton meter spec. Don't worry about that. We're using this dodgy crane to put the gearbox back on, because our crane for the gearboxes has died, unfortunately, recently. So we ordered a new one. But anyways, it done the same job. The gearbox is in place along with the transfer box in the back. So next step will be, we're gonna hang it back to the gearbox mount, which will be a bit of a fun. And from that point, it should be easy job. Then we still have to change the oil filter. And once everything is sorted, we're gonna try to start up the engine. I'm really hoping there will be no bent valves and, you know, the typical things. So let's continue. Gearbox is finally on the gearbox mount. The engine is where it should be as well. The transfer box is screwed onto the gearbox, and we still have too many things to put back into the vehicle. So I think next step will be the subframe, along with the heat shields around the exhaust, and the dry shaft can come on, and then we can probably move to the top of the engine, where we still have to connect these coolant pipes which goes to the gearbox, and we also have to put the cooler back in place, some pipes, PCV, so yeah, still plenty to do. So the subframe is finally back on, everything is tight and we don't have too many things left, as you can tell. However, I don't remember if I removed the starter motor first or I removed this coolant pipe. So I'm gonna put the car down, I'll have a look from the top, we will finish it from the top whatever we can do, and then we'll find out how we will continue. So from the top, definitely PCV valve with new gasket gotta come on. The housing for the coolant gotta go to the cylinder head with new gasket. New gaskets for the oil cooler, for the DSG, oil filter. But before we will do anything, there's one bolt why actually everything was removed. So we gotta put the bolt back to the gearbox and then we will continue with everything else. Yes, finally looks like an engine again. So, before we're gonna start up the engine, or actually turn the engine, we still need to replace the dodgy oil filter, what I didn't done. There are 2 bolts from a gearbox missing. There are like 3 clumps from the underneath where's the coolant going around the gearbox, what needs to be plugged in and connected. And coil plugs are disconnected, so we'll crank the engine first to actually put some oil pressure into the adjusters and timing chain tensioners. So we still got a few things to sort out before we're gonna fire up, and I'm really hoping it will fire up with no issues. So let's finish it off. Okay, I think we are done, finished, finito. So you put these clamps for the coolant hose, both of them. Turbo hose in place, new oil filter, tight as it should be. New sun plug washer, tight as it should be. I checked the subframe one more time. Level sensors are in place, plugged in. That's cool. Exhaust, what I forgot last time on the R32, the bolts are there. Level sensor, everything is clean. So I think we can put oil and coolant and try to crank it. I hate these immobilizers. Right guys, so we are in the RS3. We will abuse the vehicle, unfortunately. So if you don't like vehicle abuse, or how some people call it, a test drive, it's time to switch off this video and go and watch something else. So, reason why we test drive in the car is because we have to. And we are just double checking if whatever we've done, if it's done correctly and there's no funny noises coming out of the engine, or nothing is failing off from the engine or the whole vehicle, and everything is working as it should be working. So I won't be driving the car like stolen. I just want to try different drive modes, because obviously whoever will be driving the car afterwards will be driving it like RS3, which means even higher RPM, and so on and so on and so on. And also we would like to give to the owner a bit of a feedback what we think, what probably is not good, what need doing, and what we overall think about the vehicle. So this RS3, it still feels quite fresh. It only done like up to 30,000 miles, which is surprising why it have a problem with the timing chain or the timing in himself. So as you've seen on the video, I personally think that the whole design of timing is not done the best way because of the angle of the chain on the intake cam. So in case there's a very small rattle, it might cause a problem, like the timing will jump most likely on the intake camshaft, as you've seen. Other than that, there was like small issue. There was a gearbox leak from the oil filter, so we put a new O-ring on there. Bruh. The owner didn't want to do, or maybe he will do a gearbox service afterwards, so that wasn't part of the job. Also, there is a very funny issue. I'm not sure if you see it on the camera yet, but from time to time, very occasionally, it's not affecting anything. The engine is still running fine, the gearbox is shifting fine, it's not affecting absolutely anything, but from time to time, all the lights will come on and they will flash. I checked VCDS yesterday, and basically there are only few fault codes in the whole system. Most of them are in the cluster himself, like there's a data bus issue with the communication and so on and so on and so on, and there's a fault code block immobilizer or blocking immobilizer in the engine control unit. So that's because of the additional security, but I think whoever done the security in this vehicle, which is the Camshaft immobilizer, I'm not sure what's going on or how it was connected or where is it connected, but even when you're gonna put the security pin to basically disarm the immobilizer, it will not flash the hazard light, so confirmation of the correct code. So I don't think it's connected good, or something is not as it should be, because what's going on is not right. That shouldn't be flashing. But anyways, the car feels good, the engine feels good, the gearbox is shifting good. We can try a bit higher RPM. What can I say? Typical 5-cylinder. I do like it. I do like this RS3 much more than the Golf Rs and S3s, for one reason, because we live in Birmingham, there's quite loads of Golf Rs especially. No hard feelings, it's just my point of view. And the RS3 has something to it. The 5-cylinder engine sounds very nice, and also when you're buying the car to do any performance modes, you can definitely squeeze more and more power from the 5-cylinder than from the 2-liter. Also, this particular vehicle I think is quite good low bed. We've got a pan roof, which is very nice, and if we go to individual setting, you can select engine and gearbox, which is like normal. Then you can select suspension control, we have active steering, and we have the quattro, which I believe is the rear diff or the Haldex, and engine sound. So I'm I'm not sure what will happen with the engine sound, but I think it will open a flap in the exhaust. So yeah, to me it drives fine. The only thing what I can actually feel are the brakes a bit. So we are still in some kind of a mid-range RPM. I'm not pushing the car to the red line, and basically we're not doing like 200 miles per hour, but even at the higher speeds you can feel on the pedal that the brakes are juddering a bit. So I will definitely put advisory on the invoice that in the near future, if you want to drive it like stolen, I will definitely consider decent parts, probably front and rear, just to be sure. But from my point of view as a mechanic, the car feels still quite new because it's low mileage, and nothing to say really. It's a lovely Nardo grey RS3 with pan roof, low miles, timing chain is done, oil service is done. So we even seen the internals, they look really clean. You also seen the intake valves, because it's a dual injection, they're also very clean, and I think they will stay that way. And it just sounds amazing. So even it's a fully stock car, there's no tune, exhaust is fully stock. I do like the sound, and personally from point of a driver it doesn't even need to be louder. So when it's in sport, sounds nice. When you put it in drive, it will go nice and quiet. So this is what we're advising people when they're calling us and asking us like, oh, I want to do exhaust, I want to put Miltec, I want to do this and that. So as soon as you will get rid of the rear flap, you will lose a bit of a comfort on the longer journeys, and depends what you're using the car for. If you really have it for like a weekend drive, Saturday, Sunday, and you want to be like in a very loud car, then yeah, why not? But if you want to use it daily and you don't want to disturb the neighbors too much, you know, I will definitely keep the stock exhaust, unleashed the rear boxes. And if you want to have it a tiny bit louder, I would consider like delete the middle silencer, which will make the car a bit louder, but necessarily I don't think it needs to be louder. As a mechanic from a garage, what we do mostly SNRSs, I must say we don't have too many of these 5 cylinders. Most of them don't really have any issues, and if they do have issues, it's because of a human error. We have a TTRS, there was an owner contacting us, like he have a stage 2 plus with a big turbo, stock internals unfortunately. So he pushed the stock engine to a very high limit, and unfortunately it went. So most likely when people are killing these engines, they are killed because of high power output. And also what people don't realize, as soon as you're gonna start pushing 550 bhp, you just gotta cut the oil intervals. Yeah, because I was reading the manual the other day, and all these new cars are on a long life, which is very good from a perspective of the polar bears, but it's not good from perspective of your wallet. Reason why? The oil is just running through really high temperature circles, and it's disintegrating very quickly. So we advise everyone who have high performance vehicles to do not more than 8,000 miles or 1 year. That is the maximum what I personally would squeeze out of an oil. So we did done an RSQ3, which I believe we have a video. That was the same problem with the timing or the timing chain. And since then we've done only a couple of 5-cylinder engines where there were like small issues, but most likely, I mean, they are indestructible. As soon as you're gonna take care of it and you will not put a really big turbo and you want to do 20,000 miles on one oil, it will go forever. If you guys who's watching these videos have an RS3, RSQ3, where else was the 5-cylinder? And I think that's it really. It was only in these vehicles. Probably leave us a comment below and you can tell us like what's your experience with these 2.5 cylinders. Like I said, from our perspective as a garage, we don't do too many of them. So if you ask me, it's a thumb up for these engines, and it's a lovely little car. back to the garage. I have to check the invoices, how much in material we actually put into this, and also I will let you know how much is the total bill, labor, material. So I also spoke with the owner already, and he did confirm that basically these lights on the clusters were coming on and off. So I'm happy that he actually confirmed that there was an issue. So from my point of view, the car drives fine, the engine is running sweet. We will do one more check. We will check the coolant level, but that was fine. We will check the oil level, and I'll put it on the run one more time just to double check everything, so there's no oil leaks or anything like that, but it shouldn't be because I can't smell anything. And we have to calculate the invoice. Here we are in the office, guys. So this is 3 months later since we done the job. Meanwhile, the car was actually here. The owner did get the service done with the Haldex and the gearbox and the filter in the DSG, and we've been working on his brakes. What I mentioned in the video, they were a bit judgery, so we replaced the brakes all the way around. So that was sorted, and the car's pretty much all good, all happy. So he's using it quite often. The plan was he wants to sell it and he's gonna keep it, so he kept the car. Of course, it's a 5-cylinder RS3, you know, fell in love. But when I was checking actually the invoices, the total bill comes to almost £3,000. The original job, the base job for the timing chain without the camshaft adjusters, was like 1900 quid, and additional material was few gaskets and of course the 2 camshaft adjusters, which were quite expensive. But yeah, it did sort out the problem. Like I mentioned in the video, we don't do too many 5-cylinder engines, so basically from our point of view as a mechanics, we can't really tell like what's the weakest point. Obviously, unfortunately, from time to time it happened that the timing chain basically can jump. You've seen the timing chain setup, how it's done, so it's not the best idea. I'm not sure who designed it, but obviously I think unless the middle guide or bracket should be not from the bottom of the chain but from the top, so it will do a small loop between the camshafts. So it is what it is. But yeah, I'm actually very happy I managed to edit the video because I couldn't find the footage, but as you can tell I did find it on the end. It was hidden really deeply in the computer, and I'll probably see in the next video something more interesting, less interesting. We will see what I'll dig out. So thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Take care.